And maybe we're not even better than you, but we certainly think we are. I mean, we also have McDonald's, and we do like our...
Woo! She said... She said it. She said it. Oh my gosh. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Listen, this video is very much offensive, but needed, okay? It's needed. I'm not gonna be that guy who's gonna sit here and be like, yeah, why you make this video? Why are you trying to disrespect Americans? Listen, explaining Europe to Americans is a video that I unfortunately can relate to. So we're gonna be checking out that video right now. If you guys want to see the original video, link will be in the description. Check it out. Thank you for watching. And yeah, let's learn about Europe from this young lady. Come on.
Europe, the land of weird European movies, the metric system, the relaxed laws of underage drinking, and the starter of both world wars. Lately I've been seeing a lot of information about Europe, and it's been a bit misguided. So here I present to you a little crash course about this part of the world. So let's start off with geography. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Europe does not look like this. It looks like this. Europe has over 40 countries, so it's much more than just France, Germany, and Italy. And saying you visited Europe is a very broad term, because this part of Europe is very different from this part of Europe. The biggest country in Europe is Russia. And the smallest country in Europe is the Vatican City, which is basically a giant building with a giant park.
Wait, what?
Europe?
That's really what the... Hey, man, that's a ripoff, bruh. That ain't no... You know what? Let me not say that before them boys come get me. Listen, shout out to the Vatican City. Shout out.
Can be divided depending on how you look at it. It can be divided politically, geographically, or historically. For example, here, the east from the west, and here, the red from the green from the turquoise, or potato tomato regions. So let's look at the general...
Potato tomato. Potato tomato. So potato tomato is real. So the northern sections of Europe prefers potato, because I've literally seen that here in Finland. Like, good Lord. Potato is like, you know what I mean? So, I never knew that southern sections of Europe, tomato. But what's the deal with tomato? What the hell?
Way of how Europe can be divided. Firstly on the list is, of course, Western Europe. These are the countries that people want to move in, live in, and be born in. They are economically better off, and they have a lot of work opportunities. These countries include Germany, France, Austria, Belgium, and if you don't count the British Islands as their separate thing, then they also are in the west of Europe. Next up we have Northern Europe. A lot of these countries are doing great, or even they're better off in terms of quality of life. Except for Sweden, it's having a rough patch with crimes, apparently.
And, you know, I heard something that happened in Finland. I don't know if I was being trolled, but I heard something and I was so shocked. You know, like, dude, it's... Okay, listen, North Finland is like the most peaceful place I've ever been to in my entire life. You know what I mean? So, Europe in general is peaceful, but I've heard that crimes actually happen. I'm like, really? You could fool me. Because you telling me that, I don't even know if I should believe you. Because what? In Finland? Nah, bro. But yeah, crimes do happen in Europe, but it's just way less.
But they're pretty cold, and in the winter it gets really dark, so not a lot of people want to move there necessarily. Not only are they cold when it comes to weather, but also when it comes to their friendliness scale. They're usually considered a bit more unfriendly or reserved. These countries are also referred to as Nordic or Scandinavian countries. They have a lot of Viking heritage and they like to fish. They have a lot of fish and water around them. Moving on to Southern Europe. These are the countries that people like to visit on vacation. They're
Spain.
warm, maybe too warm for some people, and by some people I mean me. They have great food and wine, they're pretty friendly, and some of them like to take naps in the middle of the day, which sounds like a dream. But their economy is not doing that great.
Right.
And if you're wondering why is this section a darker orange, well, I'll get to that in a bit.
Oh, Lord.
And now we
What
have
happened?
Eastern Europe.
Oh, God.
Well, the problem with Eastern Europe is that nobody wants to be called Eastern Europe.
Really?
This division is based on the time when the Fire Nation attacked, so a lot of these countries were occupied. Since East of Europe is not the best area to be associated with, countries like to identify themselves with other names. For example,
Right.
Romania, Croatia likes to be called the Balkans. Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are the Baltics, but to be honest, they're quite high up geographically, so maybe they could be considered even Northern Europe. Poland, Czech Republic, and Slovakia likes to be called the Central Europe. And now we're left with countries that are not doing that great for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
And I would say maybe they would rather be called Slavic countries rather than Eastern Europe. You can be both, but one of them sounds a bit more cool than the other one. So if you agree
Right.
with the concept of Central Europe, then scratch whatever I said before about Europe looking like this. Now Europe looks like this. And I have to say I have nothing against being called Central Europe or the existence of Central Europe. I think it's just funny how nobody wants to be called Eastern European. So then lastly, we have
Yeah, I mean,
Central Europe.
I mean, it's kind of understandable. I ain't gonna throw no shades, but it is understandable, you know, regarding the Eastern sections. Like, imagine calling Finland Eastern Europe. Like, geography, that word, gosh, man, I hate that I can't say every word sometimes at some point of the day. But some people will disagree with me. But if you stick a pin, and you know that's a pinpoint, whatever, that's the point, and that's the center. Finland technically is east, right? When you go on the map, it is east of the point, right? And it's north of the point, so northeast, right? Imagine calling Finland Eastern. You know, remember the same thing she was talking about just now because they were a part of something? Yeah, Finland was part of that too. So yeah, you can't do that. You know, it's probably going to make everybody real mad.
All the German-speaking countries and more. These countries are located in the core economic region of Europe. They
Yes.
have stable governments and a relatively high quality of life. And these countries also love beer, and they like to fight on who drinks the most beer. This is an interesting correlation I found. Not that it's related to geography, but it's an interesting fact. With
Yeah,
all that
that's
said, the number
interesting,
one thing you should remember is that Europe is not a country. It is a continent that has a lot of countries.
Yeah.
And if you know where the capital of Paris, Berlin, and London is, you're doing a good job, and you should pat yourself on the shoulder.
I
And
do.
I definitely don't expect you to know where Malta is, which is right here, and it's very small. I don't even expect people from France to know the capital of Latvia. So if you know a little bit about this place, it's already
Good enough.
pretty good. I think one of the most important things is just not to make assumptions. For example, calling
Right.
Lithuania basically Russia is very disrespectful. Or Ireland is the same as UK. Not a good thing to do. So maybe open a map before opening your mouth. Just a friendly suggestion.
Oh! Hey! Hey! Whoo! Shots fired. Let me duck him real quick. Nah, Shawty going off. But hey, she's right. Open a map. Open the map before you open your mouth. I can't talk for shit. But yeah, open the map before you open your mouth. Very true. And yeah, I'd imagine those are very insulting, especially the, was it Latvia that she said? Right. It's really, really, really bad. Just don't do that.
And also maybe it's helpful to know the difference between Europe and European Union.
Right.
Which I'll
right.
cover that in a bit. And now we can move on to history. Well, Europeans have a lot of beef with each other. UK and Ireland, Romania and Hungary, Portugal and Spain, and Russia with basically everybody in the world. And it's all because of history. Europe has a lot of it. There were a lot of agreements, disagreements, and wars over land in the past and also now. Some stuff is serious and some stuff ended up countries just making fun of each other. For example, Austria making fun of Germany, France and the Netherlands making fun of Belgium, or the whole Scandinavian area making fun of the Danes because of their weird sounding language. Because of history, we have cities like this that were weirdly divided between Netherlands and Belgium. They even have houses that are divided into two, so pretty strange. And we also have a city like this in the Baltics, between Estonia and Latvia. Then, when you compare Europe to the US, you can see that America is actually bigger in size than Europe, much bigger. Europe is 2/3 of America. But the main difference between these two is that one of them is much more densely populated than the other. The US has 300 million people living in there, and Europe has 700 million. And yet they're smaller in size. Each country here has their own rules, their own languages, their own culture, and so on.
700 million is crazy. How much? But I know Germany has about 100. I could be sure Germany has about 100. If it's not 100, it's about 90 something million. Dude, wow.
Accurate comparison would be something like this. Every country is their own little America. And what I mean by that, we can take a look at Germany, for example. The country is divided into 16 states. And this Germany and this Germany is very different. They also sound very different. When they talk to each other, they might not even understand each other. Plus, we also have Austria right here that also speaks German, but their German is very different from the standard German. But they are right next to each other, so how did this happen?
I don't know.
History and culture and a lot of the stuff in between. Then we can also look at UK, which is fully separated from Europe by water. Here the country is divided into 4 regions, which is Scotland, Wales, England and Northern Ireland. But if you look deeper under the surface, it's also divided into smaller regions. And if you try harder, you can also divide it into just towns, cities and villages. The UK is an interesting example of how the language and the culture developed a little bit differently, even though they're right next to each other and the country is quite small. Here, people can recognize your status or class based on where you grew up in, which is a thing, I suppose. Now, let's talk about the economical state of Europe. Firstly, let's cover what is the EU, or European Union.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people mess this one up. Like sometimes, like me just talking, and I'm like the EU, and I'm like Europe, and you know, it. Sometimes you reference it, and it's not what you meant. You know, sometimes you're trying to talk about Europe and not the European Union, because the European Union is much smaller than Europe in terms of countries in it, right? So yeah, pretty insane, you know. But yeah, that's the European Union.
Now let's talk about the economical state of Europe. Firstly, let's cover what is the EU, or European Union, as they say. It is an international organization comprising of 27 countries that govern common social, economic and security policies. EU is in Europe, but the whole Europe is not in the EU.
Right.
Just like a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. What I mean is that not all European countries are a part of this. Some do want to join,
hold on. Let me process that. A square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. I don't get that. How is a square a rectangle? But I don't get that. Is a square even a rectangle? I mean, a square can fit in a rectangle. Or you can make a square out of a rectangle, but you can't make a rectangle out of a square. I get that, but a square is a rectangle. I don't think that's. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Want to leave for a variety of reasons. From my understanding, this is the EU flag, not the Europe flag, but we do use it as a Europe flag to represent the unity of Europe.
Really?
Which is a little bit confusing, but there's not much I can do.
Yeah.
The nice part about the EU is that a lot of European countries share the same currency, which is the euro currency. Not all of them use euros, but many do. These countries like to stick to their currencies. So if you try and buy some groceries with your American dollars, you will most likely be rejected. Unless you're in an airport or some kind of tourist hotspot, then it will not go that well. I mean, would you sell me a sandwich if I say I have 200,000 Animal Crossing bells?
No.
Probably not. And if you said yes, I'm not sure about your business practices. 20 EU countries use euros, but in total it's 27 because some countries decided to make it their currency unofficially. But not all EU countries switched to euro, and some of them still stayed with their old currency. So if you're traveling to those countries, check ahead what kind of money do they use? And ignore UK because I forgot they decided to leave or they
Brexit.
already left. So they're just doing their own thing. But many
Already
countries
left.
over the years did switch to using euros, which is very convenient when you travel. But as a Latvian, I
Exactly.
remember having Lats and being very sad that we're gonna switch to euros now. The only reason I didn't want it to happen because I really liked this coin and, you know, nostalgia reasons and cultural reasons. But now I don't have to exchange my currency or try and always calculate in my mind how much is this in Lats or how much is this in euros. So, overall, a good thing, I think. You can let me know if you have an opinion about this. Now, the last
I think
thing
it's a
on
good
our
thing.
list is culture.
Culture, oh Lord.
America is not Europe, and Europe is not America.
Right.
We run things differently around here.
Oh Lord.
Like, for example, it's very rare to find a building that has central AC. Most of us just have a big heat wave in the middle of the summer and we suffer for 2 weeks and then it's all good. But the normal AC is a bit more common in Southern Europe, but not everywhere. In some ways, we're not that different.
It's weird that Europe did not, adopt ACs. Like, it's actually weird to me. Like, I don't see how ACs are not effective. I just don't see it. Like, in Europe, you guys have heaters, right? And I would love some conversation about this in the comment section because in Europe, you guys have the heaters. You got heaters, right? Or radiators, to be honest. It's radiators, not heaters. But you guys have radiators, right? But technically, right, with a motor vehicle, you have AC, right? An air-conditioned system, right, with heater, right? And it can also give you, some cold air. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't think the AC is a bad thing. In the United States, I don't think it's bad. I definitely don't. I think in Europe, it would be cool to have it. I don't know. Let me know you guys' thought on that because at the end of the day, the AC unit or the system can produce heat, right? So it's not like it's useless. It's in fact going to give you sick amount of heat compared to radiators. But I'd imagine it's probably way more expensive. Honestly, it's probably way more expensive. So cost-wise, I can see why it's not that common in Europe. Maybe.
From you. And maybe we're not even better than you, but we serve all good. But the normal AC is a bit more common in Southern Europe, but not everywhere. In some ways, we're not that different from you. And maybe we're not even better than you, but we certainly think we are. I mean, we also have McDonald's, and we do like our...
Woo! She said it. She said it. Oh my gosh.
convenient cars, but we're not that obsessed with it. And our cities don't look like the medieval times. I mean, some do, but we certainly stopped throwing trash out of the windows and burning witches. As mentioned before, Europe has a lot of countries, so there's a lot of different cultures, foods, traditions, and preferences. And so I gathered some cultural things to generally know about Europe. The first thing on my list is that you're probably not Italian. If the only thing that makes you Italian is that you took an ancestry test that told you that your blood is 57% Italian, you're probably not Italian. It doesn't count if you have Italian ancestors from the 1800s that settled to America. If you didn't grow up in Italy, you don't have any...
I don't know. I don't like when people try to make themselves something, no matter if the DNA says it or, your mom or dad was from that place, but you don't accept. It's not like you lived that lifestyle. You were born in America, whatever. But you're like, hey man, I love Sweden. My mom's from Sweden, but you don't speak Swedish. You have nothing to do with Swedish, but then you're claiming Swedish. I don't think that's a beautiful thing. I think it's rather upsetting. But if you were born in Sweden, right, and then your freaking mom, was American and she moved to Sweden, and then you're like vibing out and you love America, good English, you can fit in well with the Americans, you understand the American culture, then I'm okay with that. But this whole nonsense where people are like, oh, I'm 50% Italian, I can go speak Italian. No, cut it, bro. It's just not cool. If you're 50% Italian and you want to flex that, go learn Italian and, just show me that you're Italian. Don't try to fake that shit. Oh, I'm ancestor. Tell me what you guys saying. Am I just blabbing? Am I just being a little piece of dickhead who, he's mad over people, doing that? But just let me know.
Italian relatives, like grandparents, parents, or aunts and uncles, and you don't know how to speak Italian, I'm sorry to say this, but you're not Italian. Being able to pronounce mozzarella correctly or having a family recipe of spaghetti and meatballs doesn't give you an Italian passport. Plus, spaghetti and meatballs is an Italian-American dish. They don't really eat that in Italy. Don't get me wrong, it's a nice fact and it's fun to know where your ancestors came from, but it doesn't mean that you have the right to claim to be this nationality. Then, a lot of people here are bilingual, but that does not mean that they know English. Oftentimes in most schools you learn 3 languages. Your language, the neighboring country's language, and most likely English or whatever else you want to learn. But that does not mean everybody speaks English or want to speak English. So it's always nice to learn a little bit before you come here. Even just knowing how to say please and thank you is already something. Then thirdly, in Eastern Europe and in Northern Europe, people don't really like small talking with strangers. Plus, walking and smiling alone is considered weird. They probably will think you're crazy. People here are reserved and cold because it probably is cold most of the time and they don't like to waste their energy on things that don't really matter. So if you see them smiling, it's most likely sincere. Then next we have Sundays. Some countries consider Sunday as a holy day, so a lot of shops and grocery stores are closed. Or they might not be open at their usual schedule. Germany and Poland are quite serious about it, so you'll just have to deal with it. Food is also a big part of our culture, so here is a subsection about food and restaurants. Well, first of all, let's talk about additives. The EU is cautious of what we put in our food. As you can see, the fries from McDonald's, here is a list of ingredients in the UK, which I think by that time was part of the EU. And here is a list of ingredients.
Hold on. I know they ain't got just salt and freaking potatoes and the freaking oil, bro. What? There's no way. That's it. Dude, that's mad good. Dude, that's really amazing. And look at the size quantity, bro. Like, it's insane. Look at the size. Oh my gosh. Wow. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
In the US, way more things that I don't know what they are. Don't get me wrong, we have many ingredients that start with the letter E and end with a number, but we are very selective of which ones we want to bring into our club. What I've learned from food theory is that EU takes the approach of guilty until proven innocent. Meaning, if the additives are proven to not be harmful, then they're accepted into our food chain. Each country has their own specialties and traditional foods, so there's lots to experience and to try. So we'll probably find it a little bit weird if you stick to McDonald's and Starbucks and Dunkin' that you can find back at home a 10-minute drive away from your house. But I do have to say, if you're going to these places to find something new, something that is not sold in your country, then I think it's fine. I've done it. For some reason people are judging me for this, but I want to know what a macaron tastes like at a French McDonald's. I'm curious, is it good? Is it bad? Should I buy it again? Speaking of restaurants, prepare yourself that the service will be just okay. They will not go above and beyond to please your every need. They might not be fast and they might not be friendly. They are humans that have emotions and down days and are not full of energy all the time. And they will leave you alone to eat your food and might not check up on you at all. I've been to plenty of cafes and restaurants where they did have very friendly and good service, but not all of them will be like this. And so just be mentally prepared that they will not take your dish back and give you a refund.
How I'm gonna do it is let the local order. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna do all that. Let somebody else do that. You know what I mean? Always travel with a local. That's what I'm always gonna advise people.
If you just don't like it, you'll just have to pick something better next time. Then also we have tipping. In most countries, waiters receive a fair minimum wage. But it's still minimum wage, so it's quite low. So we do like tipping, but just 5 to 10%. A more modest tip. Or you just round off the bill that the number looks nice. But the tipping etiquette can be different for each country. For example, in Germany, you tip when you pay. But in France, you leave a tip on the table when you leave, and already paid. What I hear a lot of people from America living or visiting Europe say that we don't have good Mexican food. And it's true. Because Mexico
You don't. And obviously, I mean, imagine no, but this is real stupid though. Like, I mean, obviously they're not gonna have it. Maybe Spain, right? Because I'm gonna tell you this: there was this culture or something where they had a bunch of food, from different countries here in Finland about a few months ago, and I visited and I tried the tacos because it's been a minute since I had one of those, man. I'm trying to have that real stuff, you know what I mean? And I took a bite in that thing and I was like, good Lord, this ain't Taco Bell. This is freaking Mexico right here, man. So we're not talking about Taco Bell type of tacos, a little basic stuff. We talking about that real stuff. And it was really, really good. They definitely knew Spanish. I don't know if they were Mexican. I cannot tell you for sure, right? Because I saw some of them, trying to be American and I was like, your ass ain't American. But anyways, yeah, so yeah, they're not gonna have tacos and they're not gonna be good, I should say. Mexican food, like, be real, it's not. It's just not gonna be. Come on.
Is right here.
Right.
Right next to the United States. And Mexico is pretty far away from Europe. So not a
Exactly.
lot of people that know how to cook good Mexican food come to Europe to open Mexican restaurants. And that makes sense because we have a whole ocean between us. Don't get me wrong, I would love to go to a Mexican restaurant, but I don't need
That big ass ocean washed out all the flavor, bro. So by the time you left Mexico and you get back over there in Europe, all the flavor got washed out. All you got is just dry meat and some freaking taco freaking bread. I don't know what it's called.
to know how good Mexican food tastes like because I've never been to Mexico. Because again, it's pretty far away. So maybe you should
Yeah, it is
implement
far,
geography
actually.
classes into your school education.
Whoa, whoa!
Just saying.
Oh.
When visiting restaurants, cafes, and other public places, it is important for us to be spatially aware and not be too loud. Americans have a reputation here in Europe that they're loud and annoying. Maybe they're not necessarily American, they might be Canadian, but just be aware of the situation, if it's quiet or not, and how loud you're
Dude, the Canadians getting shot right up, bro. Like, dang, they caught that one. They might not be Americans. It could be Canadians. Oh my gosh, like, that's crazy.
especially in countries like Germany. They take it really seriously and they will point it out that you're being too loud. Now, all that being said, Europe is not a perfect place. We have a lot of issues of our own. Europe is considered to be pretty safe from the rest of the world, but we still have crimes here. And as I said before, Sweden, I'm looking at you.
Tough.
What's happening? Especially in big cities, we have a lot of scams and pickpocketers, and Paris would be the first city that comes to mind that has this issue. Then Europe also has racial discrimination, some
Yeah, they
countries more than others. But an interesting statement that I've heard is that we dislike or have prejudices against people from other countries rather than skin color, which I think the description also
I don't know. What she said, from countries rather than skin color. I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't know. I think I even towards what she's saying makes a lot of sense. However, I think it is assumed a lot of the times because I've even heard other American stories how because they're not white and so on and so forth, they didn't get a nice treatment. But the moment they start speaking, it's like, oh shit, what? Why you sound like that? Where you from? What? And it's like, what I'm saying? It's like, oh, my bad. Oh no, what's good? And they treat you different, right? Which I don't like that. I definitely don't like that because it's not cool. I'm all for equality in the sense of treatment, and opportunities, right? We won't all be equal, obviously, because we have different circumstances, different experiences, blah, 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 whatever, right? But it's nice to go out there and treat people equally, you know what I mean? So yeah, Europe definitely has this discrimination issue, big time. Yeah.
fits. So we also do have our problems.
Yeah.
So
most
here are
definitely.
some of my final thoughts.
Oh boy.
Well, if you're an American living in America, you probably don't really care about the intricacies of being European and living in Europe, and that's okay. We don't know everything about you, and I don't think you should know everything about us. We
Oh.
have our own stuff to deal with, but
Oh.
I do think we can learn from each other. For example, having free public bathrooms or universal healthcare. If you're planning on visiting European countries, I would suggest just looking up some stuff about what to do or what not to do, and some little language bits and pieces of saying please and thank you. Or just in general, be more aware of your surroundings. not just for Americans, but for anyone out there in the world. So
Right.
if you like this video and you like to see more of videos like this,
Nah, it's a good video, man. I really appreciate her doing more of these videos so I can actually, you know, kick back and laugh, because man, she could be a comedian. You know, comedians with a straight face and, you know, whatever. Puns, not what the hell I'm talking about, whatever, don't care. But yeah, she was definitely solid with this. I really actually enjoyed that. So thank you for this video. And I hope you guys enjoyed as well. Europe is not perfect, but it's good to learn about and, you know, act according. You know, I'm all for, you know, being the guy who adapts. I can never figure out which one of those words is correct on the spot. I always got to say both of them. But I'm all for, you know, adapting to your circumstances. Adapting to your circumstances. Good Lord, I hate those words, man. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm out of here. Peace.